There's something no one tells you when you enter menopause. It's not just about hot flushes, sleepless nights, or those mood swings that come out of nowhere. There's something deeper, quieter, that begins to take shape gradually. A series of changes in your body that can trigger diseases you'd never imagine were related to hormones. And yet here they are. What's most concerning is that hardly anyone talks about this. But today, we're going to break that silence. Imagine you're driving the same car as always, but suddenly the engine starts to fail, oil begins to leak, and the brakes don't work like they used to. The strange thing is, you haven't changed anything. You're still driving the same way. That's what menopause is like. From one day to the next, your body begins to react differently, not because you're doing something wrong, but because the machine now needs a different kind of maintenance. And if you don't know this in time, serious problems can emerge. It's not just about putting on a few extra kilos or having drier skin. We're talking about real illnesses with names and consequences. For instance, did you know that the risk of a heart attack skyrockets after menopause? And we're not talking about a minor risk. Before menopause, hormones, especially estrogen, act like a protective shield for your cardiovascular system. But when they drop dramatically, that shield vanishes. Suddenly, bad cholesterol goes up, good cholesterol drops, and your blood pressure starts behaving like a rebellious teenager. The result? More and more women over 50 are developing heart problems, often without any warning signs. Here's the shocking part. Heart attack symptoms in women aren't always the classic ones. There's not always intense chest pain. It could be extreme fatigue, discomfort in the neck or jaw, even nausea. Many women mistake it for indigestion or tiredness, so they brush it off until it's too late. And that's not all. One of the silent threats that creeps in during this stage is insulin resistance. Suddenly, that harmless little biscuit becomes a metabolic trap. Your body no longer processes sugars the same way, opening the door to pre-diabetes or even type 2 diabetes. Many women reach this stage without understanding why they're gaining weight so quickly, why they're constantly hungry, or why they feel drained after eating. It's not laziness. It's not lack of willpower, it's biochemistry, and no one explains it to you. What about cognitive decline? Yes, I know, it's an uncomfortable subject. None of us wants to think about forgetting names, misplacing keys we're holding, or losing our train of thought. But this isn't just absent-mindedness. The drop in estrogen affects your brain too. Studies have linked menopause to a higher risk of developing conditions like Alzheimer's. For example, did you know that poor sleep during menopause doesn't just leave you grumpy the next day? Chronic sleep deprivation can actually speed up brain aging, and here begins a vicious cycle. Poor sleep makes your thinking sluggish, which increases stress, and that stress interferes with sleep again. Breaking that cycle is crucial, and it's not always solved with a pill. Sometimes it means changing your routines, creating calming night rituals, learning to say no to things that don't serve you. There's also something rarely spoken about out loud, your bones. Because they don't hurt at first, we tend to ignore them. But quietly, day by day, your body is losing bone density. Suddenly, a minor stumble becomes a hip fracture. Osteoporosis is one of those sneaky illnesses that develops in the background. Many women don't realize it until they're already in a cast. The saddest part? It can be prevented with diet, with movement, with sunlight, with supplements if needed. And if that sounds like a lot already, there's more. Pelvic floor health, a subject still taboo, but one that directly affects your quality of life. Incontinence, prolapse, discomfort during intimacy. Things we stay quiet about out of embarrassment, but that are common and treatable. Yes, treatable. There's no need to accept them as inevitable or stop enjoying your life out of fear of leaks or feeling uncomfortable in your body. There's pelvic physiotherapy, there are exercises, there are real solutions. And now let's talk about the thyroid. That tiny gland that regulates absolutely everything: your energy, your mood, your weight, and your digestion. During peri- and post-menopause, your thyroid might start to slow down without you noticing. And because the symptoms are so similar to those of menopause fatigue, constant cold, hair loss, weight gain, it often gets overlooked. How many times have you heard it's just your age? But it's not always that. Sometimes it's hypothyroidism, and a simple blood test can detect and treat it. I'm not sharing all this to scare you. I'm giving you tools, because knowledge is power, and you have every right to understand what's happening in your body and how to truly care for it. It's not about living in fear, it's about living with awareness, about no longer normalizing symptoms just because they're common, about demanding to be heard, understood, and respected during this stage of life that, while challenging, can also be one of the most empowering. But of course, not everything is obvious. Have you heard of silent degradation? The kind that doesn't hurt, that goes unnoticed, but that lies behind many chronic conditions that arise at this stage: heart disease, autoimmune disorders, chronic fatigue, even resistant depression. All of this can be linked to inflammation that quietly smolders due to poor diet, chronic stress, lack of movement, and hormonal imbalance. And because it doesn't hurt, we ignore it. But the body warns us, and if we listen, we can take action. What I want to tell you with all of this is that menopause is not a disease, but it is a turning point. It's honestly a key moment where many conditions can emerge or worsen if we're not paying attention. But you know, it's also an opportunity to reset, to listen to your body like never before, and to make changes that will not only improve your present, but also protect your future. Because you are not broken, you are not old, you are not past it. You're going through a transition that deserves understanding, quality medical care, and above all, empathy. The more we know, the less we fear. The more we share, the stronger we become. So if you're here watching this video, you're already taking a huge step. Choosing to be informed is your first act of self-care. So, now you know menopause is not just about hot flushes and missed periods. It's a critical stage where your health can go in many directions, and it's best to be informed so you can choose the right path. From your heart to your brain, your bones, your gut, and your skin, it's all connected. And the sooner you start paying attention to these often overlooked signs, the more tools you'll have to maintain your quality of life. If something I've said here surprised you, share it in the comments and tell me which part made you go. No one ever told me that. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and share this video with a friend who needs to start looking after herself properly. Because together, informed and empowered, we can face this stage with strength, joy, and health. I'll see you in the next video with more uncomfortable truths and real solutions for women like you. Before we continue, there's something important I want to mention. In the description of this video, I've left a resource that could really help you through this stage. It's something several women are starting to use, and honestly, they're seeing real changes. If you're curious, have a look later. It might be just what you need. There's something very few women know. Menopause can deeply affect how your immune system responds. This imbalance can make you more vulnerable to recurring infections, especially urinary, oral, and respiratory. Suddenly, you find yourself catching colds more often. A simple wound takes longer to heal, or cystitis shows up like an annoying monthly guest. Why? Because estrogen also plays a key role in modulating the immune system, and when its levels drop, that invisible shield weakens. This can also create fertile ground for dormant autoimmune diseases like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, which curiously tend to flare up in women between 45 and 60. What's most worrying is that many of these symptoms are brushed off as just aging and ignored until they're far advanced. But if you learn to observe your body and speak to professionals who understand women's health, you can prevent more than you think. Now let's talk about something even less mentioned: the skin. Yes, your skin also suffers during menopause, and I'm not just talking about wrinkles. Collagen decreases rapidly, leading to conditions like atrophic dermatitis, rosacea, or even spontaneous bruising due to fragile capillaries. Some women suddenly find their skin itches constantly, turns red for no reason, or breaks out like during adolescence, but with a different texture. And what do? They buy expensive creams that promise miracles without knowing the root cause lies within. Menopausal skin needs fatty acids, proteins, antioxidants, and sometimes supplements like organic silicone or hydrolyzed collagen. But hardly anyone knows this. There's another invisible but powerful change that affects millions and is rarely linked to menopause: hearing loss. Yes, you heard that right, though maybe not quite as clearly as before. The drop in estrogen impacts the microcirculation in the inner ear, which can lead to gradual hearing loss. Annoying buzzing sounds, also known as tinnitus, or even vertigo. It's not uncommon for menopausal women to start saying "what" more often, or to crank up the TV without realizing there's a physical reason behind it. Sadly, this is often blamed on normal aging and left unchecked. But there are hearing therapies, retraining exercises, and natural treatments that can slow down this decline if spotted in time. So if you've recently struggled to follow conversations in noisy places, don't ignore it. Your hearing is speaking to you. Maybe it's asking for help. And if you thought your eyes were safe, here's another surprise. Eye health also takes a hit during this stage. Many women develop dry eyes, light sensitivity, or even need to change their glasses prescription every few months. What's that got to do with hormones? Quite a lot, actually. Tear production, corneal thickness, even intraocular pressure, all are linked to hormone levels. In fact, some research has begun to connect menopause with a higher risk of developing glaucoma. But because these changes are often slow and subtle, they tend to go unnoticed. So don't wait for your vision to deteriorate completely. Get regular eye checks and tell your optometrist about your hormonal stage. It's not a minor detail. Sometimes a small tweak to your eye drops or diet can restore the visual comfort you thought was gone for good. And what about your teeth? It turns out oral health also takes a significant turn during menopause. Estrogen helps maintain healthy gums and the bones that support your teeth, so it's not uncommon for women to notice bleeding, sensitivity, or even loose teeth just as they enter menopause. And no, it's not just the toothbrush or floss to blame. It's a direct result of bone loss and oral dryness, often accompanied by that sticky mouth feeling or persistent bad breath. There are dentists who specialize in women's health, but they're rare. The key is not to downplay these signs. An inflamed gum today can become a missing tooth tomorrow, so if it's been ages since your last deep clean or your mouth doesn't feel quite right anymore, maybe it's time to view your oral health through a new lens. That of a woman who understands her body is changing, and those changes start with her smile. Now let's talk about the heart. Because yes, menopause also takes a toll on the body's most important organ. What used to protect you, your estrogen, is now gone, and with its absence, cardiovascular risks rise sharply. What few people know is that heart attacks and strokes increase alarmingly in women after 50. In fact, symptoms in women aren't always the typical chest pain. They can be far more subtle: fatigue, nausea, anxiety, or shortness of breath. That's why it's essential to monitor your blood pressure, cholesterol, and heart rate. But the emotional side matters too. Chronic stress, so common during this phase, is one of the heart's biggest silent enemies. So yes, you need to eat well and move your body, but you also need to unplug, make space for yourself, and nurture your inner world. Because there's no point having a beating heart if it's utterly exhausted from holding you up. And finally, let's tackle the most underestimated symptom: chronic fatigue. It's not normal to feel like you've run a marathon just from doing the shopping. It's not normal to wake up tired or to spend the day trapped in a mental fog that no amount of coffee or naps can shake off. This fatigue can have many causes: thyroid imbalances, iron or magnesium deficiencies, sleep disturbances, even gut microbiota changes. But the real issue is that many women accept it as just part of getting older and never seek answers. And here comes the uncomfortable truth. If you don't do something about it, that fatigue becomes your new normal. That's why it's vital to find tailored strategies, from supplements to kinder sleep routines, dietary tweaks to relaxation techniques. Because when you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your life. And nothing is more powerful than a menopausal woman brimming with energy. So now you know, what's invisible also matters. Menopause isn't just a transition, it's a full-body transformation that affects every cell, every system, every aspect of your health. And the more you know, the freer and stronger you'll be to face it. If this video opened your eyes or made you think, "No one ever told me this," then share it. Let me know in the comments which part resonated the most or what you'll be taking on board starting today. And if you liked it, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with that friend who needs to know she's not alone. Because together, better informed, more aware, and more connected, we can move through this stage with clarity, health, and without losing who we are. See you in the next video with more truths you need to hear, the ones no one else dares to say.